Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of the horror game tutorial series, where we will try to create a complete horror game by mixing games like Resident Evil and Outlast. In this part, we will focus on creating a Crosshair without using external images, so that the player knows where they can interact later on. I'll also show you how to create a HUD in Blueprint. But before we start, I'd like to thank 𝐂𝐚𝐽𝐽𝐸939, Domax, and Alexander Tretiak for being members of my channel. If you'd like to download this project directly and don't want to follow this series, please consider becoming a YouTube member for $4.99 a month, which would be a great support to me. And now, I hope you enjoy this tutorial. First, we'll change the color of the folder so that we can find it more quickly later on if you download asset packs, as it can be difficult to find things when there are several folders. In the folder itself, we then create another folder called User Interface. In this folder, we save all widgets and all associated data, which makes it much easier to find the widgets. It's best to give the folder a distinctive color, as we will be using it frequently. In this folder, we will finally create our HUD widget for the player. To do this, right-click on the folder in the content browser, search for the User Interface tab, and select the Widget Blueprint category in the sub-tab. Here you will find all kinds of sub-widgets from other widget classes, but we want to create a new one, so click on Widget Blueprint again. This will create a class, which we will call WB_PlayerHUD. In this widget, we will later create things like a health bar or stamina bar, but for now, we will only create the crosshair. Now, let's add a canvas panel to this widget. This makes it very easy to move other elements around, but it does require quite a bit of performance. However, since this is a main widget and is visible throughout, that's fine. And we'll also add an image. We center it in the middle using the anchor. This ensures that the element always pulls in this direction if the screen size changes, such as on a mobile phone. Then we set the position to 0 for X and Y and set the size of both values to 5. This is a good value so that you can see the dot a little, but it doesn't take up too much space. You can change the size here as you wish. Next, we set the alignments to 0.5 in both directions so that the crosshair always stays in the center, regardless of the resolution. Then we make the image round by setting the field to rounded box in the brush settings in the Drawn As category. Our widget is now complete and ready to be created in the player blueprint. To do this, close the widget, go to Horror Game, click on Blueprint, and open Player Character, because that's where we'll create the widget. We could also create the widget in Player Controller, but this way is easier for beginners to understand, and everything is in one place. Once in Player Blueprint, we want to create a new function called Initialize Player. Here we will add everything the player will need later when saving the game, such as the data from the loading system. Then we call the Begin Play function, which is automatically called when the game is started. Here we add the function we just created. If you already have code here, create the sequence node after Begin Play and put the function on the second pin. In the initializePlayer function, we will now create our widget. To do this, add the createWidget node. Here, you can select a class as input that you want to create as a widget. Enter the name of the widget you just created, in my case, WBPlayerHUD, and you have now created your first widget. Now we need to place it in the viewport, but before that, we save the widget. To do this, right-click on the output of the createWidget function and click the Promote to Variable button and name the variable player HUD ref. This allows us to use the reference from the widget and call and execute functions or other elements from the widget anywhere in the player without an error. We also write a comment so that you will know later what the variable is responsible for. After creating the comment, we take the output from the variable and call the add-to-viewport function. Now, the widget is also visible to the player, so we can save the blueprint and try out what we just created to see if everything we programmed works.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate a like and subscription so that you don't miss any future content from my channel. If you encounter any errors in your project, I would be happy to assist you on my Discord server. The link is in the description. Until next time.